Okay, so we are presenting here a nice collaboration between a musicologist, which is Jean-Monnet Sitchet, alias Pierre Eugène Sitchet, who is a vocalist and a PhD student at the Sorbonne University. And myself, I have already my PhD, and I was at LIMSI, and now I will be at IRISA in Brittany. So we present a mixed approach which combines signal processing analysis and a paradigmatic method analysis, musical analysis. So we will first introduce the speech and present the context. Then I will talk about the different features that we can extract from the signal. And Gino will talk about the musical analysis and then conclude. So this is not a computer music speech, but signal processing and music speech. So we will, our approach is based on only singing voice material, on traditional singing voice. And we would like to highlight the interest of a mixed approach for teaching applications, musical teaching or signal processing teaching. So this is the interest of a pluridisciplinary subject. So it's okay. We will present now the context of the Gwoka singing. Okay, so little one.
So this paper, especially the Gwoka music, was born in the 17th century with the transatlantic slavery. Gwoka was transmitted from generation to generation in Guadeloupe. Some families have managed to preserve this musical tradition. Amongst these, you have the Geoffroy family from the region of the Grand Fond de Saint-Etienne. It's a region from Guadeloupe where the slaves were trying to escape and live and hide a little bit, so as not to be caught. Only sung in Creole, in spite of the diglossic context, Gwoka, because Guadeloupe is part of France, by the way. I mean, everybody knows Guadeloupe, I guess, no? Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. So in Guadeloupe, they speak French and they also speak Creole, Guadeloupean Creole. So Gwoka is based on the cryptic drum, song, and dance, and give a great prominence to the voice, you know. The Geoffroy family is specialized in singing during vigils and in bouladiel. Bouladiel means it's a vocal technique with like vocal percussion. They do a lot of sound, as you can hear in the tune. A vocal percussion style from the Grand Fond de Saint-Etienne. This paper is going to highlight the interest of teaching a mixed approach for the analysis of traditional music, and thus the interest of the theoretical multidisciplinary approach. Two approaches, like Marie was saying earlier, will be used together: a musical analysis based on the paradigmatic criteria and a signal approach close to the field of MIR, music information retrieval, based on extracting acoustic cues from the audio signal. We will build on the comparative study of two musical pieces from the repertoire of Gwoka from Guadeloupe, performed by two brothers, Sergius and Hilaire Geoffroy. Those two brothers were born in different, from different generations. As you can hear in the songs, the first one is was recorded in 1662. The second tune was recorded in 2002. They both passed away, actually.
So the main objective of our presentation is to find the common elements of the analysis, is to find common elements and differences between the two versions of the same tune. So we are passing the tunes, with I will show you the score that Gino have made. Oh, shoot. Okay, so I will show you the score and then listen to it. This is the score is like this. So we have an introduction, and then each time you have répondez, which is sung by the choir. The répondez is here, and then all the time. Okay, so this was the Sergius version. So now we are going to extract elements, features of melody, harmony, structure, rhythm, phonation, and the character of each piece. So I'm going to start the signal processing part. So the first work I have done is to segment and then to extract the song vowels. So it takes a long time. And we have choose to segment vowels because it is more stable signals on the opposite to consonants, and they carry the main information of the music. Also, the Creole speech is a highly voiced speech, contrary to French, and automatic segmentation tools are not easy to use on this speech. So we have done a manual segmentation and manual annotation according to basic French vowels. So for this annotation and segmentation, I have used the transcriber tool. So we define manually the borders of each vowels, and we annotate here what kind of vowel it is. So here you have O, then a consonant, vowel, E, etc. At the end, you can hear the 2A. First, we have extracted the pitch, the fundamental frequency, with Pratt. And this allows us to analyze the vibrato and vocal techniques. So I have plotted the pitch and the spectrogram for the Hilaire singer. I will listen. So you can hear the choir, the répondez here, and the beginning and the end of the extract. And then you can see different vocal techniques. You have in blue the vibrato, which can be seen on the pitch values in blue, but also on the spectrogram, on the harmonics. Then you have glissando and portamentos here in yellow. Then we have in false in green, and then in red you have gruppetto mordant, which it signifies that you pass from one note and then another to go to the last one. We can do the same analysis on the Sergius tune, but here we have no fall, so there is no green part in this song. Such an analysis allows us to understand how the singer managed to sing, what is characteristic of the Gwoka and characteristic of Sergius or Hilaire. So we can separate both singers and make a table for comparison of the two singers. The last thing I've done on voiced speech is that I have computed the ratio between voiced duration and the total duration. And if the singer uses always vibrates his vocal folds, the voiced ratio will be higher than if it stops. For example, if he uses many consonants, the vocal folds will stop vibrating. So we can see here that Sergius have a higher ratio, so it is more voiced than Hiller. We can also plot a distribution diagram of both songs. We can see in blue that there is a most frequent note that is obvious, and in the red curve there is no obvious peak, but we can see that there is a frequent note. So it probably gives us the tonality of the song. So we have found a tonality between A2 or A sharp 2 for Sergius and B3 or C4 for Hiller. So this will be confirmed by the musical analysis. Then, as I've already said, there is a variation, then the répondez, then variation, répondez, etc. So I have superposed all the variations, so all the pitch value for each variation. So you can see that variation lasts almost 3.5 seconds for both singers. And you can see then that Sergius variations are quite always the same. They are quite similar for Sergius, and it is the contrary for Hiller. So Sergius is probably more in a fixed structure than Hiller is. Then this is the part on phonatory analysis or articulation analysis. So I've said that I have annotated each vowels with A, E, or etc. And this allows us to plot the vocalic triangle. So this is the vocalic triangle, which is computed thanks to the two first 4 months. So 4 months are the resonances of the vocal tract during the singing process, extracted with Pratt. So if we plot the two vocalic triangle of both singers, you can see the shape is different. And we have a full triangle for Sergius, so it means that he will use mainly all the vowels that is possible. But Hiller have a trapezium shape, so he will not use the A, the normal A that Sergius uses. There is no A here for Hiller. So this may be due to a question of nasality, because nasality is very important in folk songs, but it's quite difficult to prove it.
Could it be the quality of the recording?
It may be. In fact, with Hiller, it was quite difficult to segment because the background is there are many instruments. That's why I focus on vowels only to limitate the other. But you have here you have a lot of points that signify nothing about articulation, which are computed on instruments or I don't know. And the third point is so I've talked about pitch and then articulation, and now I will talk about rhythm. So here is the time, and here is the duration of vowels in blue, or the répondez in red. So if the duration is longer, the point is upper. So we can see that the répondez for both singers decrease with time, and they have almost the same duration. The vowels also have almost the same duration. but we can see, so the duration of répondez are almost the same, 1.4 and 1.39, but the period between two consecutive répondez are different. Sergius improvises more, takes more time between two répondez than Hilaire.
Sorry, the time, the horizontal time, what does it mean? The duration between two?
No, the horizontal time is the normal time, the time of the song. The song lasts 150 seconds. So this is the first, here you have the first vowels of the first variation, then répondez, then second variation, then répondez, etc. And then with the vowel duration, we can make a tempo analysis. So I have plotted the density probability of vowel durations for both singers. And we can see that the most frequent duration is the 16th, so the double croche, which is quite almost the same for both singers. But the 8th is different, and then the other notes are also different. And what is important in this diagram is that here we have the quarter, which is usually at the end of the variation, and the quarter is longer for Sergius, longer than the 16th, 4/16th, and for Hilaire it is shorter. It means maybe that Sergius will last more, spend more time on the last note of the variation, or that the choir will start singing a little bit more later in this song. So this is the full table for comparing the elements of signal analysis. And what is important in here to mention is that signal analysis does not allow us to make any objective, quantitative number for the character. So this is left to the musicologist.
Yeah, thank you, Marie. One thing I was going to point out is, like, in traditional music from those areas, like African diaspora, the notion of bar is not really important. In fact, the bar can move this way, like 5 beats today, and tomorrow it could be something else. So, because the way they improvise, they're always improvising, in fact. So when you look at the two charts that we have, for instance, they're giving a map of the moment. It's a representation of the moment the music is played, in fact. It's not the way it has. It's not static like in Western music or classical music, where you have the bars like this is 4 bars, 5 bars, 3 bars. So it might depends on the moment, you know. So the reason why we have to transcribe this way is that we have to understand how the music functions. It might sound repetitive, but it's not always the same thing that they're performing, they're playing, in fact. So also I know with this analysis, paradigmatic analysis, what we're trying to do is like having a recurrent segment in the piece that can define the style of the music, how the music is constructed, in fact, how the music works, how the tradition works, how people move around what they already have, like a basic, you know, something basic. But the downside could be the fact that with the pitch, for instance, I'll talk about it, maybe we don't have a lot of time, that's why I'm rushing a little bit. With the pitch, it's hard to tell if the guy is singing maybe E flat. I mean, it's sometimes in between 2 notes, you know, so it's hard sometimes to transcribe. You have to choose one way to transcribe, one pitch, and then write the music down. But with the analysis, with the signal analysis, is more precise, in fact, because you know that this is the note. It could be even in between, but you know that it's more precise. That's why we're doing this comparison of the 2 pieces. What I want to say? The song in Grand Bon Matin, for instance, it starts with the rubbing the hands, because this kind of music, called bouladiel style, is for funerals, for vigils. So when they perform, in fact, they don't use drums normally. Normally they don't use drums. And those two guys, they are coming from a family where the tradition is very important. And the younger brother, Hilaire, was someone very a little bit crazy. He was out of control. He was trying to do his own thing. So for the rest of the family, it was something very negative to include the drum in the funeral song, in Gwoka Bouladier song. So what is interesting in this, why are we doing this, is in fact it's more to explain, like teaching music analysis to students sometimes, especially when it comes to traditional music. The main thing would be to start is to understand the context. What kind of music is this? Why are they playing this music? In what concept? In what area are they playing this music? Why are they doing this or what? Question many things. We cannot just put the music down and say that, okay, and analyze without knowing what we're doing. Otherwise, we could go wrong. We might say that, okay, this is off or whatever, because even the concept of pitch is very relative. It's very, it's in those contexts. It's not very, it's not something very, on what people really pay attention. It's not. It doesn't mean that they sing out of tune, but they're not really focusing on it, like in other kind of music, like in jazz music. One thing I was going to point out is the language itself has a huge role. Like Marie was saying earlier, the way the voice that they use, the consonants also. We might understand that Creole is constructed in a way compared to French. It's very voiced. It's a very voiced language. It's not like French, even though it has French roots. And the way also people sing in Creole, sing Gwoka music, that music, they sing it using sometimes some paraverbal language, so if I can put it this way, So we might sometimes, it's like part of semiotics, so we might take into consideration those aspects also. What else was I going to say? If we, I don't think we have. Okay, so in the beginning of the tune starts with the rhythmic rubbing, rhythmic rubbing of hands of Bouladier. So the guy that is playing like quarter notes, they always do this, It's something very common. Anyway, so the song begins almost at tempo with the main voice up to measure 4, where the rhythm starts. The song is in B minor. I kind of put it in B minor, B flat minor, sorry. The melody of the song revolves mainly around the D flat pentatonic scale. The tune, at some point you hear the rhythm rubbing of hands and Bouladier. The Bouladier is all those elements. And the main melody, that is about 5 beats each time, is punctuated by the choir, by the répondeur, that are in 3 beats. One also hears some rhythmic and melodic variations around this D-flat pentatonic scale, as shown on the following lines. One can notice that these melodies on D-flat pentatonic scale always begin with D-flat and end with the lower E-flat, except at the end when the singer ends the melody with the D-flat, G-flat. As regards the tune that is in B-flat minor, it ends in G-flat major. So let's talk about major. I know it's going a little bit fast to you don't have the chart in front of you. So this piece is based globally on the same principle as the previous one. It's the same tune, but the second guy changed the name of the piece, as you can hear. But for musicologists, it's not really important to know why he changed the title. Yes, the tune begins with the rhythmic percussive voice, the Bouladier. The song is in G minor. The melody, so the key is different. The melody that is in 5-beat always revolves around the F pentatonic scale and usually starts in D to end in C. The melody is punctuated by the chorus that is in 3 beats. There are variations in the melody similar to the one of the introduction. In the introduction, for example, the lead vocal begins in G and ends in C. That's really confirm what Marie was saying earlier. Ile is going all over the place. It's playing around many notes, and there are a couple of variations. It's more compared to his brother Sergius, who is more static. It's more traditional. Sometimes it starts in F. One can also hear rhythmic variations of the melody in 5 beats around 2 or 3 notes. Here around C and D. This is Ile. The tune ends with the vocal percussions, bouladiel, and the drums. So the drums is called boula, with the final break, as you can see on the chart. What I would like to mention is the main melodic similarities between the two songs are the respect of the melodic, phrasing, ascending, descending, melodic, rhythmic, cadence, plus semi-cadence, and of the main melody. Bon Grand Matin, we can mention also the respect of the melody of the chorus répondeur. Bon matin, you can hear it all the time, no matter the tonality, even though they are. Okay, let's go to the table summarizing the differences that we have observed. Grand Bon Matin is kind of academic structure, given that Sergius Geoffroy, who is a legend, was born in 48, if I remember exactly, and he passed away in 92. So he's from another generation. His brother Ile was born in 61, and the tune was recorded in 1962. But the second one, Majola, the song of Ile, his brother, was recorded in 2002. So it's more recent. So the academic structure in the style of pure rural traditional music. Main voice, répondeur, background vocals, hands, the bouladiel, and the bouladiel. Coda with melodic, rhythmic cadence sung by the main voice. And compared to the Majola, we have more modern structure with the drums, bouladiel introduction, followed by the entry of the main voice. Coda with rhythmic cadence produced with the drum plus cha-cha. It's using cha-cha. The cha-cha is a kind of shaker. Coming to regarding the harmony, we have the tone is not clearly defined. This is like I was saying earlier, this is often the case of oral traditional music, as there are no harmonic instruments. When listening, it seems that the voice and the répondeur are straddling 2 tones. We have also the same feeling when we listen to the second tune, because they kind of going up, the pitch is moving all the time. When listening to Majola, one perceives very clearly that this version is sounding better compared to the first one. The D minor tonality is clearly heard. The main harmonic supports are tonic, the dominant. Okay, the character, let's talk about it. It's traditional. I think I mentioned that earlier, and Ile's track is more festive than the traditional version. I would like to conclude. Or you want to mention something? Although this thorough paradigmatic analysis displays numerous interesting features, one must not underestimate its weaknesses. As underlined by Rouet, the process is much more a verification procedure intended to ensure that the analysis is consistent than a discovery procedure in the strict sense. However, teaching the acoustic descriptors can be extracted from a music signal seems very relevant for musical analysis. All the elements of analysis are complementary and allow a thorough exploration of the musical material and a better understanding of the characteristics discussed in musical culture. Therefore, this type of multidisciplinary approach opens interesting perspective for teaching, additional training on the use of physical models that enable the extraction of acoustic descriptors would allow musicians and students to have a better understanding of their instrument and the music. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Time for one or two questions?
Maybe I missed the beginning, so maybe it's a stupid question. But since there are a lot of variation in the way each piece is performed, how do you choose the recording that you are using? Maybe, I mean, if you use a different recording of the same song from the same person, would you have the same results, or how these results are representative?
Like I was saying earlier, I mean, these results represent the moment the piece was played. The moment what we hear is what we're having here in front of us, I mean, right now, in the moment. So it's a transcription, it's an interpretation of, I mean, regarding the transcription, it's just the moment the piece was written, you know, like we did also with Signal. Like I was saying, in this kind of tradition, it moves all the time, it's not something static, so it could be something different, but the main structure is still there. It's the same structure. You have the lead vocal, you have the répondeur, and you have the ending, you know, it goes back and forth.
In fact, in another study, we wanted to study more the articulation part, and we have taken 10 different extracts from different singers in order to have a more representative corpora. But it is very, very hard to have a significant corpora for making such analysis. So we cannot have more than 3 or 4 versions of the same song by Sergis or by Hiller. But we should have done that, but it's quite impossible, in fact. Yeah.
It's quite impossible.
So this is the case study, so we can compare these 2 songs for these 2 moments.
Another question over there.
Did you ask them to write down the score of their song?
No, they don't write music. I mean, so we wrote the music. Sorry?
At least to try to write down, so that you can maybe get feedback about what is relevant for them. No,
the advantage that I have with this study, I mean, personally, is that I play with those guys. So I've worked with them a couple of times. You know, I'm going to Guadeloupe soon with part of the members of the family. So as a performer, I had a chance to understand. I think I have a better understanding of what they're doing exactly in the music. So because it's very spontaneous, of course, but it's very traditional. It's something very, you have to feel it, you have to live it. Music is for me, music is something very, I mean, we have to intellectualize, of course, you know, but we have to live the music in the moment. Music is a moment in those cultures, especially, you know, it's like Thomas was saying earlier. It's live music, it's just like jazz. And actually, it's kind of the same concept that we have in those music from the black diaspora. You listen to jazz. When the guy is not done with the melody, you don't go to the head. You know, you don't stop the melody. I mean, with the solo, if it's not done with the solo, you can go over and over. Even sometimes we play music. I mean, sometimes you miss one bar. It's not a real problem. It's part of music, so it's not a problem that you miss one bar. The guy is like the drummer. No, there we go. It's live music. So it's the same concept in a way. For me, asking them to transcribe, it was very difficult. First, they don't write music, they don't read music. And
I'm not saying that they would write it the way that you write the music, but for example, I'm thinking of the booking instrument in China is something where gestures are written with an aphorism and a nominal. And that the way to transcribe on the paper for the pedagogy, for the teaching, the way you have to play it. So it's not about notes.
Yeah,
totally
but I understand what you mean. I understand.
What is relevant is not necessarily to play
exactly, yeah.
And all the subtleties are in between.
But you're right. But you know what I did? I mean, I asked them a bunch of times, I mean, to say that, okay, sit down, tell me. I mean, they're trying to tell me about the story behind the song. You know, they're not really into, it's hard to capture something like that, believe me. And obviously, it would have been great to have their own interpretation of the tune. I mean, the own way of writing the tune.
Two more short questions. Thomas, and then Dominique.
I just wanted to ask about the workflow. You said that it was just some different data, so you wanted to actually try to understand, maybe have even more questions about the music itself. But where you just use more in musicology way to your habits, to try to get the melody, to do all your things, or were there a direct influence from the analysis during all the workflow, or was it something then you gather together and say, I've got this, and what can we do? Or is it during the workflow, the understanding of the music, something that was made together?
You mean to understand the music that they're doing?
Yeah, I mean, were you influenced in the way you wanted to understand music directly when you were working by the data analysis, for example?
In fact, he came with the scores,
Yeah.
so and with the songs. So, but I am a musician too, so it helps. And then he explained me what was the goal and what kind of elements he wanted to extract. And then I've tried to make the tools to extract them, and finally we have some elements that are similar and which confirms each other, and other which are not. That's it.
Okay, right, thank you.
One last
Yes,
question.
it will be very short. I'd like to know how it's live today. Is it practiced by many people, or is it restricted to the Gwoka family?
No, it's very popular. Actually, I mean, we choose this family because they are the most popular family performing this kind of music. They are the only one who have. I mean, they are the only ones to have the band just like this a cappella with just the voices and the vocal percussion, and. I think for me it was relevant for me to focus on that because I mean first of all I'm a vocalist, you know, and by the way after we met, I had a chance to record on the last CD and bringing my own composition to. They asked me some composition, I brought in some composition, and I sang on their own tunes also, and it was kind of funny because they could tell that I'm not from that tradition, so.
Yeah.
And
is it part of your background too?
No, it doesn't have anything to do with my tradition. No, I mean, kind of. I'm a black guy, so Africa. So this music is from there. So probably there's a link. It's about the roots. Yeah. Thanks.
Okay. Thanks very much.
Thanks a lot.